Hey, welcome to your Libra horoscopes for the first week of 2024, beginning today, New Year's Eve, ending January 6th. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on this week, including the end of the Mercury retrograde, which is on Tuesday. Of course, there's a shadow period. There's always a shadow period to the end of the Mercury retrograde. So that is going to actually make it last a little bit longer, 7 more days at least. So it's officially over by the time we get into Tuesday next week. But this does help, of course. It is in Sagittarius. In all honesty, I could be completely shooting myself in the foot. I'm just gonna knock on wood here by saying that this retrograde, compared to other retrogrades, really was not as bad as it could have been. But, the shadow period sometimes is worse than the actual retrograde. That does happen. So just have that little extra patience for those little miscommunications, complications, phones not working, devices not wanting to work properly. I actually had a really weird Mercury retrograde thing this time where I was just sitting in front of my computer, watching a video, playing a game, and, doing what I do pretty much, every single day when I'm not working. And my computer just went right and shut off completely, just for no reason at all. Didn't touch it, didn't do anything. It just decided it wasn't going to work anymore. And well, luckily it came back on. So it wasn't, it could have been way worse. Just saying, it could have been way worse. So we do have the moon coming into Libra this week, starting on Tuesday about midday. As it moves into your sign, it is moving in a pretty big challenge that first day with a T square with Neptune, as well as Mars, and Mercury plays into that just a little bit as well, as it's going direct that day. Um, T squares are pretty big challenges, and the moon's focus is on your day-to-day schedule, while Neptune's focus really is focusing on bad habits that were created as self-protection from personal trauma. So this can be attitude problems. This could be where the martyrdom thing comes from, actually, that Libras have a tendency to do, where they self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is an ego issue, and it's not necessarily having a big ego as we know ego to be, but more of having insecurities, and the ego feeds those securities by self-sacrificing, hoping that somebody will see that. That might be a good thing to leave behind in 2023, actually, because I've seen a lot of Libras go through this over and over and over again. It really doesn't work out the way that you think it's gonna work out, okay? Mars and Mercury are focused on long-term goals. So this whole shebang here really is a challenge when you're standing there at the beginning of the week. This is the first week of the year. You've got this plan. It doesn't look like it's going to go according to plan. This could be one of those moments where you just go, I guess it isn't going to work out for me, and just sort of walk away from it. There's also those instances where other people come up with their problems, and that's more important than what you want to do, and that's always an excuse as to, this is why I can't do anything for myself, because everybody else needs me. Again, put some boundaries on that, you guys. I mean, honestly, I totally get where you guys are coming from. I live in a space in my life where I do have a family. I do take care of older family members. I do run a business. I do run a second business on the side. That's a lot. And so when you're trying to get all of that done and you constantly have interruptions, sometimes stupid ones, you know, it's really easy to go, and I've done it for years. I can't completely focus on my goals because everybody else has something that they need me for first. That is an excuse. That is something that I really learned in the past couple of years is that is an excuse that you are using to avoid the possibility of failure in those goals. It's what we do. I think a lot of people do it. A lot more goals would be accomplished if we didn't do that. The moon is in a trine with Pluto as it comes in, which is helpful because this is really focused on career transformation, career changes, career growth. And so these long-term goals could be about the career. So you just want to avoid when these little disruptions come up that you don't go to the extreme of course, nothing good is going to happen to me, okay? That's not necessarily how it is. The moon moves into a square with the sun the following day on Wednesday, which takes that big challenge, makes it a little bit smaller. And that moon square with the sun is really focused on career and making sure that you have the right amount of time to focus on those career goals. So again, we're talking about disruptions. Funny story for an intellectual, from one intellectual to another. I actually downloaded an app that was specific to helping you manage your time better because I have a lot of problems with that, being an intellectual myself as well. And when you download, I don't remember what it's called. When you download the app, it has a bunch of questions. So in order to understand what problems you have so that it can gear the whole app towards you. And so I'm answering all their lists of questions and going through each page. And then I got a Facebook message. And then I moved away from that app and went to answer the Facebook message, which led me to an email, which led me to somebody calling, which led me to hours later scrolling through my phone. And I see that app still sitting there. And I landed on the question, how often do you get distracted? And I laughed because all the time. That doesn't mean that you can't get right back to it. And that doesn't mean that you can't put boundaries on the people that are distracting you either. If they're grown adults, they can figure it out or they can wait until you're done. Boundaries are important to balance, and that should be your Libra mantra for 2024. The moon is in a sextile with Venus. That is good energy going towards your finances, specifically for security purposes. That's always really important. As we get through into Thursday, which is pretty much the last day of the moon being in Libra, the moon's focus is balanced, teetering right in between focus on relationships and focus on your day-to-day schedule. And what's interesting about this is the moon moves into a square with the sun and Pluto. Now, the sun and Pluto were helpful a minute ago. Now they're not so helpful anymore. Both planets focused on career. So this is really telling us who's coming in to distract you from those goals, right? Honestly, I look at it this way, okay? And it took me a really long time to get this. But I look at it this way. The point is that your family is your family. You give them your time because you love them and because you want to take care of them, and that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they start to get used to you being available pretty much as and whenever they want it, like you're on their schedule. So it's really important to start setting up boundaries around that. This whole moon time in, this week in your sign is all about laying down those boundaries. If you don't lay down boundaries, nothing ever changes. They're never going to get it. You're hoping eventually they'll figure out. It is literally never going to happen, okay? If you don't establish that this is how it's going to be, it will never change. So they will always get in the way of your plans. Lastly, the moon sextile with Mercury. By this time, the Mercury retrograde is over. Very much focused on long-term goals, whether they be long-term financial goals, whether they be your career goals. Basically, this is about eliminating a really old pattern for you guys. The self-sacrifice, the martyrdom, it's time to focus on you and your goals and what you want to accomplish, and not taking into consideration what everybody else thinks that you should do. That's really important. It's also really frustrating and annoying when you get that constantly. Which I'm sure my Libra husband is annoyed with all of my opinions all the time. But at the same time, I can see where he's coming from with that. So that's what I have for you guys this week. Kind of a lot, but not really at the same time. It's all in how you navigate it. If you navigate it smoothly, it goes through smoothly. If you navigate it in frustration, chances are it's not going to run smoothly. So it really is up to how you manage it. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider clicking the link in the description and sending me a copy. I would really appreciate that. I really appreciate all the support so far. You guys are amazing. Thank you very, very much. That's it. I'm Melissa Bruce, Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you guys next week. In the meantime, you guys, come on. It's all about you now. Not that you have to ignore everybody else, but let's start prioritizing you. I'll see you guys next week. I'll see you guys next year. You guys make it a great week.